Florida has one of the worst invasive species problems on the planet. The warm subtropical climate, the abundance of water, and the sheer variety of habitats make it the perfect destination for non-native animals to establish themselves. And over the decades, we've seen everything from Burmese pythons and Argentine tegus to green iguanas and feral hogs take over parts of the state. Billions of dollars have been spent trying to control these populations, and in most cases, we're barely making a dent. Hunting programs, trapping efforts, and even bounty systems have all been tried, but the invaders keep spreading. And that got me thinking about a different approach entirely. What if instead of relying solely on human intervention, we invested more in the native predators that already know how to hunt in these ecosystems? In today's video, I want to talk about 4 native Florida predators that, if given the right support, could play a serious role in controlling the state's invasive species. Now, I'm not suggesting that any one of these animals is going to single-handedly solve the problem, because the reality is far more complicated than that. But each of these predators has adaptations and behaviors that make them uniquely suited to targeting specific invaders. And in some cases, they're already doing it. We'll start with the most obvious candidate, and that's the American alligator. These reptiles are the undisputed apex predators of Florida's freshwater systems, and they've been here for millions of years. An adult male alligator can reach lengths of around 3.4 to 4.5 meters and weigh well over 400 kilograms, which makes them one of the largest reptiles in the Western Hemisphere. After being hunted to dangerously low numbers in the mid-20th century, alligators were listed as endangered in 1967, and following decades of protection, they made one of the most remarkable wildlife recoveries in American history. Today, Florida is home to an estimated 1.3 million alligators, and they can be found in virtually every freshwater habitat in the state. Now, here's where things get interesting. The Burmese python, which is arguably the most destructive invasive species in the Everglades, shares much of its habitat with the alligator, and these two apex predators do come into conflict. There are documented cases of alligators killing and eating Burmese pythons, and there are also cases of large pythons killing alligators. It's a genuine battle between two heavyweights. The problem is that the python population in South Florida is estimated to be in the tens of thousands, possibly even over 100,000, and their presence has caused catastrophic declines in native mammal populations. Raccoons, opossums, and marsh rabbits have declined by as much as 90 to 99% in some areas of the Everglades since the pythons became established. Alligators alone aren't going to eliminate the python, but they are one of the very few animals in Florida capable of killing an adult one. If alligator populations remain healthy and are allowed to thrive in the same waterways where pythons are spreading, they serve as a natural check. The key is making sure we don't undermine one apex predator while trying to fight another. Now, from the largest native reptile, we move to the longest native snake in North America, and that's the eastern indigo snake. These are truly stunning animals. They're glossy blue-black from head to tail, and they can reach lengths of up to around 2.6 meters, with some individuals reportedly approaching nearly 3 meters. But what makes the eastern indigo snake so relevant to this conversation isn't its size, it's its diet. Indigo snakes are ophiophagous, meaning they specialize in eating other snakes. They are known to prey on rattlesnakes, cottonmouths, racers, and essentially anything they can overpower, and they appear to have a natural resistance to pit viper venom. This makes them one of the most effective native snake predators in the southeastern United States. The potential here is significant because while an indigo snake isn't going to take down a 4-meter Burmese python, it could absolutely target juveniles, and that's where the real damage can be done. Invasive python populations sustain themselves through reproduction, and juvenile pythons are far more vulnerable than adults. An established population of indigo snakes in the same habitat could put meaningful predation pressure on young pythons before they have the chance to grow into the giants that are so difficult to deal with. The same applies to Argentine black and white tegus, which are another serious invasive reptile in Florida. Tegus are powerful animals, but a large indigo snake is more than capable of targeting younger individuals. The tragedy is that the eastern indigo snake is currently listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act. Habitat loss, road mortality, and the decline of gopher tortoise burrows, which indigo snakes rely on for shelter, have all contributed to their decline. There are active breeding and reintroduction programs underway in parts of Florida and Alabama, and I think expanding these efforts could have real benefits not just for the indigo snake itself, but for the broader fight against invasive reptiles. If we step away from the water and into the forests and swamps of South Florida, we find the state's most iconic predator, the Florida panther. This is a subspecies of the cougar, and it once roamed across the entire southeastern United States. Today, the population is confined almost entirely to a small range in South Florida, primarily in and around the Big Cypress National Preserve and the Florida Panther National Wildlife Refuge. As of recent estimates, there are somewhere between 120 and 230 Florida panthers left in the wild, which makes them them one of the most endangered mammals in the country. A fully grown male can weigh up to around 73 kilograms, and these cats are efficient ambush predators that primarily hunt white-tailed deer and feral hogs. And that second prey item is the key here. Feral hogs are one of the most damaging invasive species in the entire United States, and Florida has an estimated population of over 500,000 of them. They destroy native vegetation, disturb soil systems, damage agricultural land, and compete with native wildlife for food. They also have incredibly high reproductive rates, with sows capable of producing 2 litters per year. Trapping and hunting programs remove tens of thousands of hogs annually, but the population continues to grow. Florida panthers are among the few native predators large enough to regularly kill feral hogs, and studies of panther diets have confirmed that hogs make up a significant portion of what they eat. If the panther population were allowed to recover and expand its range, it would add a layer of natural predation pressure that no human program can fully replicate, because panthers hunt every single day, year-round, in areas that are often inaccessible to people. The challenge, of course, is that panther recovery is incredibly complex. Vehicle strikes are the leading cause of death, and habitat fragmentation continues to limit their range. But investing in wildlife corridors, underpasses, and habitat protection doesn't just help the panther, it helps the entire ecosystem push back against invasive species. So the final predator on this list might surprise some people because it's not a giant and it doesn't have the same dramatic reputation as the alligator or the panther. But the bobcat is arguably the most versatile and widespread native predator in Florida. Bobcats can be found in nearly every county in the state, from dense forests to suburban edges, and they are remarkably adaptable hunters. An adult bobcat typically weighs between 5 and 14 kilograms, which might not sound like much, but they are fast, agile, and capable of taking down prey much larger than themselves relative to their body size. What makes bobcats so valuable in the fight against invasive species is that they target many of the mid-sized invaders that the bigger predators overlook. Green iguanas, for example, have exploded across South Florida in recent years. These large herbivorous lizards damage native plants, erode infrastructure with their burrowing, and compete with native species for resources. Bobcats have been documented hunting and killing green iguanas, and they are one of the few native predators that consistently do so. They've also been observed preying on smaller invasive mammals and reptiles. The beauty of the bobcat is that it doesn't need a massive wilderness area to survive. It can operate in fragmented landscapes, near human development, and in agricultural zones, all of which are places where invasive species tend to thrive. Bobcats don't need a recovery program in the same way that panthers or indigo snakes do, but they do need protection from habitat loss and from being hit by vehicles, which is a growing concern as Florida's urban sprawl continues to expand. So, there you have it, 4 native Florida predators that could genuinely help control the state's invasive species if their populations are healthy and their habitats are protected. The American alligator holds the line in the waterways. The eastern indigo snake could target the juveniles of invasive reptiles before they become unmanageable. The Florida panther puts real pressure on feral hog populations in the wildlands, and the bobcat patrols the edges, picking off iguanas and other mid-sized invaders across a wide range of habitats. None of these animals is a silver bullet, and I want to be clear about that. Florida's invasive species problem is too large and too entrenched for any single solution. But what I find fascinating is that we often spend so much money and effort on external control methods while overlooking the predators that have been here for thousands or even millions of years. Supporting native predators isn't just about conservation for its own sake, it's a practical strategy that works alongside everything else we're already doing. I'd love to know what you think. Are there any other native predators that you believe could make a difference in Florida? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.